Hi. In my class, we decided to do technology timelines, and this one is mine. I'm going to go through it and just talk about why I chose some of the things I did and if I could relate it to some teaching methods. To start, I feel that technology has always changed throughout history, which is obvious, and we have kind of manipulated it to fit our intellectual needs. Now, I just started at the very beginning. In 1822, Charles Babbage designed his first mechanical computer. Now, I don't know anything about these mechanical computers. It's very large and definitely does not look like our modern day computer. That also goes for the 1963 Douglas Engelbart invented his first computer mouse. Now, I just thought this was really interesting. It was just such an odd looking little device. But it has the same function as our small mouses now have. The first, it wasn't actually used in home, it was more for businesses and companies, is the 1973 Xerox PARC computer. And again, it was the first personal one used in offices. This was really before they got into home computers. In 1976, Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak launched one of the first home computers for Apple, which everyone knows the Apple company. In 1981, the Osborne Computer Corps was kind of in competition with Apple, and they invented the first portable computer. And it has that tiny little screen that you see here. From there, we have the 1989, which is when Tim Berners-Lee released the World Wide Web, which is the internet as well, with some tweaks as we know it today. In 1995, Pierre Amidar launches eBay. He was an entrepreneur and wanted everyone else to be entrepreneurs. As the quote says, he tried to just kind of connect us to help change the world. I chose him just because I thought that was really interesting. I just kind of never really paid attention to eBay much, and it was really interesting that he did this because he wanted other people to be able to be entrepreneurs and start their own sort of businesses and selling things and stuff like that. In 2001, Apple released the first ever iPod. I just thought this is interesting because I didn't realize that when I was born in 1998 that there was no iPods, because I'm just so used to Apple kind of being around from as far as I can remember. In 2002 is when I started playing computer games at home. You had the system where you'd have to plug in the disc and it'd be this whole program download and whatnot. So I wouldn't say I was particularly late in getting to technology, because I was only 4 at the time. In 2004, we started having actual computers in class, and it was just those educational games and typing games and stuff, kind of just to get you familiar with what a computer was. And at the time, it wasn't really implemented in teaching methods as it is now. In 2004, Facebook was released by Mark Zuckerberg, and Facebook has now consumed the world. In 2007, Steve Jobs launches the first ever iPhone. And in 2007, I did not get an iPhone. I got a flip phone, which could only make outgoing and incoming calls. There was no texting or internet access or anything like that. In 2010, he released the iPad, which at the time was just a bigger version of the iPhone. And in 2013, I did get my first iPhone. It was a 4th generation, and it was the coolest thing in the world. In 2014, I got my first laptop. I had to get the one with the biggest screen because, of course, I wanted to be able to watch movies on it. Not that that's what it should have been purposed for. In 2016, I made my first Facebook. My mom was kind of against the whole Facebook thing. She didn't want me to become absorbed in it, so until I was leaving for college, I did not make one. Now, as far as these topics, they kind of relate to something called a DLC, which is a digital learning kind of like content component type deal. And there's 4 different aspects of it. Now, the leadership and digital learning aspect kind of goes back to this because we initiated our own professional growth by using different resources to create this timeline. We had 4 different options, and then we also interacted different media and pictures and facts and research to be able to put this information together. Digital citizenship is kind of just for copyright reasons, and we integrated digital curriculum by using outside sources and other media. So by incorporating that, we are practicing digital citizenship. And to do it properly, which is also something that we incorporated, is we had to be careful to cite our images and give credit, which, as you can see here on each image, if you open it up, I always included the site here. So you could go back and find where I found these products from. As well, at the very bottom here, I cited the sources where I found my research. And as far as digital content, it's the same thing as kind of the first one, where we just found, what we thought fit best for our topic and how we wanted to present our timeline. We used 4 different timeline options. This one I felt fit best for what I was trying to get across. And same thing where we kind of used outside media and outside sources to find our information. For the 4th topic is data and assessment. We didn't really have to do any of that here because we didn't have to assess the topics that we found. We just had to really state what it was in our timeline. In other cases, you definitely could use some data and assessment and look further into these topics to kind of give a more descriptive explanation. But overall, that is the entirety of the project. So that is my technology timeline.